Right, back to the matter at hand then, and an introduction to the work of Neville Goddard. And I'll give you a bit of backstory on how I got to be aware of his work, which has been on my agenda, on my YouTube a lot. And I did enter into his 72-hour experiment. One of the messages is to immerse oneself for 72 hours in the way of seeing the world that Neville has. And I have to say, it's brought about some incredible results. It really has changed things for me. I said to Mrs. M when we were having our morning coffee this morning and cake here in Portugal, that it feels like I've had an upgrade to, when you switch monitors and you're going from low definition to high definition. I was with a couple of friends yesterday afternoon, and I could see their faces in 4K or a simulation thereof. It was like, wow, I love these guys. I know these guys, but I'd never seen them quite as clearly and crisply, and my amount of presence, it felt like, around them had changed. So something's happening. Not yet, but I'm going to check it out right after this. Thank you. Sounds wonderful, says Deb, about the New Reality Summit that we're hosting this weekend. We're with you, Carl. Thank you for the reminder for the weekend conference. Oh, great. If you could be there as well. And some love for Louisa there. So she's okay. She's well. She just sounds really croaky and didn't want to inflict that on you this morning. Hi, Bob and Viv from Deb as well. Right, okay, so here is Neville Goddard. And I'd like to do something of an introduction to his work as I understand it. And there's a funny thing going on, isn't there, with some of these 20th century speakers. I think because their work is out of copyright, there's quite a lot of people around who, are seeing this opportunity to pick up the work of 20th century spiritual teachers and have the work read out. I need to have a bit of a cough. Wait, bear with me one moment. While I'm doing this, why don't you just feel the weight of your body on the chair again and do whatever you do to come. I've given you a lot to think about. So maybe just withdraw from the world of judgment and thinking and rationalizing and come back into your senses in the body while I have a good cough. Bear with. Right, that's better. Thank you for that. You didn't have much choice, and believe me, it was better that I was muted for that. Right, introduction to Neville Goddard then. And as I was saying, I think a lot of these 20th century teachers have had their work, I was going to say exploited. I don't mean that in a bad way. The fact is, or actually, no, not even the fact is, it seems to me that a lot of these teachers whose work is now out of copyright and is in the public domain for whatever reason, and maybe it isn't. I mean, maybe some YouTubers have just gone ahead and done this anyway. Their work is being reanimated for our age through AI techniques and through social digital media. And on the one hand, I'm very pleased. If not for that, I would not be talking to you this morning about Neville Goddard, and I would not know about his work if not for those people who are doing that sort of thing. So I'm very grateful to them on one level. And on another level, from a different perspective, some of the production values are a little bit off. So, for example, I'm sure I heard Neville Goddard saying something about social media, which he would have not known in his time in one of these recordings. And then there'll be these clunky moments. And I don't mean to criticize. I'm just telling you my experience of what's gone on with this. Is that be still and know that I am God. He'll be, and I'll tell you more about Neville Goddard's relationship to the Bible, to William Blake, and so on. But he'll be quoting the Bible in one of these presentations, and it will come out because it's AI as be still and know that I am God. And it's like, oh, well, okay, hold on. Yeah, I really like the sound of that, but that was a bit clunky, the I am God. So we've got this going on, which caused me to want to find a less busy, complicated, and confusing picture of the man's work. And the thing is, he's absolutely prolific. He's written so many books. And he's best known, I think, for the law of assumption. And it's actually quite hard to get some distilled and straightforward information. And that's a work in progress for me. I would like to record as cleanly as possible some of his work as a YouTube presentation so that I can listen to it myself. I've loved being immersed in the work of Neville Goddard over the last 72 hours or so, more, I think, going back to last weekend. whereupon I first discovered him. So I'll give you a little bit of an introduction. I did find one really good introduction to his work on LinkedIn, of all places, courtesy of somebody called Tamal Roy, and the LinkedIn page is called Tweets for Life, and it's Neville Goddard's invention, The Law of Assumption. So I'll read from that and add some of my views on that as well, and that should give you an idea of the basics. And there's loads that you can go and research for yourself on YouTube, of course, and other types of media, digital media on the web. Going to Wikipedia, first of all, to give you an introduction to his biography, really. He was born in 1905. He was a Barbadian writer, speaker, and mystic, as described on Wikipedia. He grew up in Barbados. Something else I should say before I continue is this is something I'd like to do, and I began to say something about this before I distracted myself earlier on in the show, is I would love to do a spotlight and a focus on various spiritual teachers. And if you have a favorite, tell me today who your favorite spiritual teachers are, but if there's somebody who you'd like me to focus on and do a bit of a spotlight in the way that I'm doing for Neville Goddard this morning, please let me know. I'm a big fan of Barry Long, for example. I'd love to share something more about the work of Barry Long. That's in the chat. Today, however, it is Neville Goddard. He was born in 1905 and passed in 1972. So that gives you an idea of when he was alive and when his messages were being shared with the public. Grew up in Barbados and moved to the United States as a young adult. He taught various self-help methods for testing his own claim that the human imagination is omnipotent, therefore God. He achieved popularity by reinterpreting the Bible and the poetry of William Blake. And that's how in my shamanic state, my feverish state last weekend, when I was going from influenza to influencer, maybe I'm a Neville Goddard influencer at 11 minutes past 12 on the 27th of March, but I was dealing with some sort of flu-y symptoms, and I was in these weird states of awareness, consciousness. And I'd been thinking and talking about William Blake a lot last week, and somehow that connected me along with the role of the imagination. That's it, yeah, because we've got here that Goddard taught various self-help methods for testing his own claim, key message here, that the human imagination is omnipotent and is therefore God. So I was thinking about imagination, and I became sadly aware, acutely aware of how I may not have used my imagination very well in these last, 59 years, which came as quite a wake-up call to me. And something has awakened in having a different relationship to my ideas about imagination. Anyway, I might get a chance to speak about that more, but the main thing is to tell you about Neville Lancelot Goddard. What a name, Lancelot, Neville Lancelot Goddard. There was a clue there, was there not, that he was a mystical knight of a man. Neville Lancelot Goddard, born in Fontebelle, St. Michael, Barbados, in 1905, February the 19th. Our parents were Joseph and Wilhelmina Goddard. He was the fourth of 10 children and also the older brother. Cricket fans may know of cricketer John Goddard and businessman John Goddard. And at the age of 17, only 17, Goddard moved to New York in 1922 then to study drama. And he became his first worldly fame was as a dancer at the Hippodrome in New York City in 1925. Amazing. And if you begin to listen to his work, you will see how he manifests his move to America. It's quite extraordinary. Between 1929, and I continue to read from Wikipedia here, and 1936, he was mentored by Ethiopian Jew Abdullah, simply called Abdullah, in New York. During this time, Abdullah introduced him to the Kabbalah and taught him Hebrew. New Thought author Joseph Murphy also acknowledged Abdullah as his teacher as well. I don't know, Joseph Murphy, there's another teacher we might have a look at as well. In 1942, at the age of 37, he was drafted into the army and stationed at Camp Polk, Louisiana, in the 11th Armored Division. And after serving just 9 months, he was granted an honorable discharge from his battalion. And it was just after this brief stint in the army that he was naturalized as a United States citizen, having been a British citizen as a Barbadian up until that point. Now, His earliest known career, then, as we've said, there was as a dancer, and while touring, isn't it lovely? The hero's journey here. So he met Abdullah in New York, and then while touring with his dance company in England, he'd come from Barbados, he'd gone to New York, and now touring England. And if you listen to the YouTubes of him, you would think he was a British gentleman, which I guess in a way he was by a quirk of colonialization of Barbados. While touring with his dance company in England, he developed an interest in metaphysics after he met Arthur Begbie. Arthur Begbie, the Scotsman who introduced him to the world of psychical, I beg your pardon, I was going to say physical, psychical research, of course, giving Neville his first taste of the spiritualistic seance. When he returned to New York, he became associated with the Rosicrucian body, and in February 1938, he began lecturing in Old Actors Church in New York, which sounds like an amazing place. 1938, just before the Second World War then. What an amazing time. And after traveling extensively throughout the United States, Neville eventually made his home in Los Angeles in 1952. So in the 50s then, he lectured at the Town Hall, which is, not any old town hall. The Town Hall was a performance space at 123rd West and 43rd Street between Broadway and 6th Avenue. So dancer and spiritual teacher. In his 1931 lecture, Imagination Plus Faith, he spoke of his brief career in television. I did what I am doing now. They gave me a lectern and I simply sat at a desk and spoke. It was during the mid-1950s that he began a short stint on television, an early spiritual teacher then on TV in America, broadcast in LA on Channel 11. He had 26 half-hour shows that went on air between 2 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. every Sunday. The shows were simple in production, consisting of him extemporaneously speaking to the television audience on biblical esotericism. The program averaged viewing audiences in excess of 300,000 on a weekly basis. So even though it was biblical esotericism, 300,000 people on a weekly basis. The show was eventually cancelled when Channel 11 were unable, same old story, Channel 11 were unable to secure advisors suitable to the audience. What do you advertise to people interested in biblical esotericism? Anyway, in 1954, Goddard was reportedly planning a metaphysical telefilm show, though it is unclear if the project came to fruition. He did, however, leave us many books and recorded lectures. His legacy then, and I'll go to more of the legacy in just a moment, as reported on Wikipedia from a different source. But just to let you know that Jonathan L. Walton, who's an American author, ethicist, and religious scholar, contends that Frederick Eicherenkota, and no wonder that Frederick Eicherenkota is better known as Reverend Ike. You may know Reverend Ike. In particular, adopted theories and teachings rooted in Goddard's ideas. Rhonda Byrne, you may know her from The Secret, right? The producer of The Secret. And, of course, Wayne Dyer, who I'm sure you have heard of as well, have noted that Goddard shaped their views. Margaret Runyon Castaneda, there's another familiar name, ex-wife and later biographer of Carlos Castaneda, was interested in Goddard's work and introduced Castaneda himself to Goddard's ideas. So there you go. That's the biographical backstory for Neville Goddard there. A few of your comments before I say a little bit more. Lots of energetic shifts right now. Ooh, how's your week going? Where are you right now? In the middle of some shifts. Shifts happen. And that would answer the other question we ask you on the banner there. What are the signals to you that we're in a period of change, of a new reality? Well, I'll take that, Bob and Viv. So energetic shifts going on for you now. The teacher arrives when the student is ready. This came up for me. It really did when I was thinking, well, why haven't I heard of this guy before? Well, I wasn't ready, as you say there, Bob and Viv. The AM is capitalized in many versions. Oh, the am that I am. Okay, thank you for that. Love you too, Mrs. M. And Byron Katie. The work is something that has... going to spiritual teachers and favorites. Byron Katie. Oh, yes. Love her. Is something that... Is it true? Is it really true, honey? It's something that has really helped me let go of judgment of others and see the mirror aspects. That teaching, the work is so simple in a way, isn't it? But not easy. and so profound. She has a wonderful way of letting go. She's passed on. I didn't know she'd gone. I didn't know that. Oh, and I've got an apology to make. Oh my goodness. This is pretty serious, actually. I announced yesterday that I thought that Andrew Harvey had passed on. It was Andrew Cohen, both of whom are spiritual teachers that I have been influenced and changed by, I think, especially Andrew Harvey. So I'm so sorry, any Andrew Harvey fans who I saddened yesterday by news of his passing. It's actually Andrew Cohen, and I'm really sorry to have done that. Forgive me. That was literally a grave error, and I'm very sorry to have done that. It's just a very poor form. But just to put the record straight on that, Andrew Cohen has passed away. I didn't know that about Byron Katie, though. Oh, my goodness. And Deb loves you too, Louisa as well. So back to Neville Goddard then. And I go now to Tamal Roy, who on LinkedIn has written about Neville Goddard's invention, the law of assumption. And you're thinking, okay, law of attraction. Yes, we know about the law of attraction, even if we don't necessarily put it into practice all the time. Or do we? Maybe it's like the law of assumption, which we are putting into practice all the time. It's just a matter of how aware we are of putting it into practice and what we bring to it. More of that as this unfolds. And there's a beautiful image. Imagining creates reality. So I guess there's quite a lot of correlation here with the law of attraction. But it's the law of assumption that is better or more closely connected to Neville Goddard. Imagining creates reality. And the supremacy and the profundity of that idea is so central to his teaching. He was a spiritual teacher, as we've discovered, who lived from 1905 to 1972, as Tamal Roy is telling us here over on LinkedIn. His teachings, according to Tamal, have the power to transform your life and help you manifest your desires. In this blog, we'll explore how Neville's invention, the law of assumption, can change your life. Well, it has been doing that for me. It really has. And I can give you examples. I probably won't go into that right now. I do want to document and write about them. It's been quite profound, my connection, my sudden and now enduring connection to Neville, spiritual teacher who taught that our thoughts and imaginations have the power to create our reality. We know that, don't we? I mean, so in that sense, it was like, okay, wow, that isn't what blew me away about Neville. We know that, don't we? But I was reminded about how we're doing that all the time. We are doing it all the time. It's just how effectively is what occurred to me. And I was also especially interested, I think what brought me into this particularly was the connection between imagination and healing, more of which I'll talk about if I have the time. He believed that, excuse me, I need to cough again. Let me just go back and mute you. Okay, whilst I'm doing that, instead of the fire alarm, which I was using a cue to go inside, how about my cough alarm, which is if I mute now, can you just go find yourself in the moment, be in your body, be in your senses, do whatever practice you have while I have a blooming good cough, okay? So go ahead, do that now. Okay, all right, here we go. You might have changed your reality right there. By getting into your body. Back to LinkedIn then, and Tamal Roy here, and I'll give you the link to this. I think I've done that already, but I'll reiterate that in the chat. He believed that we can, this is Neville Goddard, he believed that we can manifest our desires by using the law of assumption, which is the idea that we should assume that our desires have already been fulfilled. This means that we should act as if we already have what we want and feel the emotions that come with having it. Now, I think the immediate trigger here is that, oh, that's just pretending, that's faking till you're making it. And I don't think it's so much the mental part of that and, you know, the Walter Mitty part of it, which I think human beings have a natural sort of resistance to. They don't want to be fake. They don't want to tell lies. But there's no harm, as I see it, in feeling the emotions that come with having your seeing your desires as already fulfilled. And that is actually an incredible, it's like, what's the worst thing that can happen? If you begin to live in the emotional state of what it would feel like to have your desires fulfilled, even if your desires weren't fulfilled, that wouldn't be such a bad thing. I mean, that's like the worst case scenario here that we're talking about with the law of assumption. I'm assuming that the feeling you would have when it comes to having your your greatest desires fulfilled is a feeling of joy and peace and like, oh my goodness, this is so good. This feels so good. Now, if you're able to summon that up now, why wouldn't you do that now? And then it's almost as if the law of assumption and what issues forth from that is a bonus, because you would already be feeling fantastic. Now, again, the trigger might be from the cynical human mind is, well, that's just a trickery. That's just a way of making you feel good all the time. It's like, it could be. But then again, hold on, what did we just say then? For as much as you can remember to feel great all the time, you feel great all the time. It's like, no, thanks. Oh, no, I'm not interested in that because that's fake. It's like, no, if you're feeling great now, you are feeling great now. And there's nothing fake about that. Right. Neville believed that our imaginations are the key to manifesting our ideas. Sorry, let me read that again. Neville, I got myself too excited, I think. Neville believed that our imaginations are the key to manifesting our desires. He taught that we should visualize ourselves as already having what we want and feel the emotions that come with it. And I do invite you to try this. Why not do it for the next 3 days, or at least the next 2 days? And if we can't do that, do it for the next hours, but see what happens. Try it and see what happens. This means that if we want to manifest wealth, we should visualize ourselves as already being wealthy and feel the emotions, importantly, that come with it, such as happiness, gratitude, and abundance. And here's the other thing. If when you feel yourself being wealthy, you don't feel happy, grateful, or abundant, that might take you into the world of healing. It's like, why don't I? What are my thoughts? Why do I have those immediate thoughts that aren't happy, grateful, or abundant when it comes to thinking about being wealthy? Which I think connects very squarely and usefully to this. And that's the marriage of the dual awareness of imagination, the importance of the imagination that we're talking about here, to imagine those feelings, but then also to see, is there something that needs to be healed here? Because when I go to that feeling, it's not there, or a so-called negative one is there. One of the most essential teachings, going back to Tamal here on LinkedIn, one of the most essential teachings of Neville Goddard is that we are the creators of our own reality. I think if you're watching new reality TV, you understand and accept that to a great degree. He believed that our thoughts and beliefs shape our experiences, and that we can change our reality by changing our thoughts and beliefs. If we want to manifest a different reality, we need to change our thoughts and beliefs to align with that reality. Now, everybody knows that, don't they? The most unknown facts at a glance about him, I've already let you into these. He was born in Barbados, raised in Jamaica, moved to New York City, where he was a successful dancer and actor. His teachings were heavily influenced by the Bible. He believed that the Bible was a spiritual guidebook that contained hidden meanings and symbols. Ooh. Neville believed that everyone, and aren't you glad now if you had a Christian upbringing and you heard all those wonderful things and they didn't quite make sense, or you could feel the ring of truth, but you didn't believe necessarily the messenger. It's like there's something in this, but it's not quite landing right. Well, Neville Goddard might be the conduit to the juice of the Bible that you could feel, but hadn't quite put into place until now, possibly. So, spiritual guidebook, and it contained hidden meanings and symbols. He also believed that everyone has the power to manifest their desires regardless of their circumstances or background. We know this to be true, do we not? And he, of course, as we said, influenced Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, and Esther Hicks are also people thought to be influenced by his teaching. That makes complete sense, does it not, that Esther Hicks might be a fan of Neville Goddard? The book, The Power of Awareness, has become a classic in the field of spiritual and self-help literature. His teachings have the power to transform your life by using the law of assumption and visualizing your desires as already fulfilled. You can manifest your dreams into reality. Remember, you are the creator of your own truth. This is Tamal Roy talking to you over at LinkedIn, and I will give you the link to it. You are the creator of your own truth, and you have the power to shape your experiences. So, says Tamal, start using Neville's teachings today and see the magic unfold in your life. Time to have a look at our last couple of comments here. Oh, and there's my matrix that I came up with, where if you're healed to quite a refined state, and your imagination is in this Neville Goddard way working in a high optimal state, that's a great place to be. However, if your imagination is low, or you're using it against yourself and you're healing status, if there's a lot of trauma running you in your life, that might be a very worldly place to be, and you have Neville to help you in this regard. So that's me adding something to the work of Neville Goddard there. Thank you for being with me on this episode of The Moment, just one of the Munsons here on New Reality TV, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye.